There's been an increase in the romanticization of oppression that are experienced by marginalized people. So, for instance, movements that activists have been working on for so long have just been picked up and then completely sensationalized. And I think a lot of people here can agree that we've seen this recently with the new phenomenon of the Coney 2012 campaign that's been blowing up on Facebook and Twitter and different blogs. So I was just wondering, as activists, what can you guys say about this new trend in making the struggle sexy?
When you were speaking, I couldn't help but to think about, feminist research. That's what I resonated the most with. Chandra Mohanty, talks a lot about how, white feminists, or it could be like, other researchers within the global north who go who travel to the third world and document, the experiences of marginalized peoples, the suffering, of women all over the world, and then come back and become star academics because they've mined all of this pain, and they become, they get something out of that pain. They get like tenure track positions, they get publications. And so in my work, I'm an activist first, and I became like, an academic, so I could have resources to keep on going to the farms, and and anyway, so I think that we have to be, really careful with, how we align ourselves with our communities, and how, we also have to be mindful of not, providing, like this mind's pain, to be consumed, by the mainstream, like they often want to consume. And of course, what ends up happening is that once something becomes sexy, it is no longer sexy, And so that's why with Justicia, sometimes people complain to us that we haven't responded to one of their emails. First of all, we're running around with our head cut off, doing so many things. But sometimes people just jump on the on a particular movement because it is sexy, and then we don't see them ever again. Or researchers come up to us and they want us to open the door to this marginalized world, this transnational world, those margins like in the countryside in Canada that has taken us like 10 years to build those trusts with workers. But I think that as people that from these same communities, marginalized communities, our job is to be true to their resilience, to their humanity, and to their voices and to their agency, and and not be seduced by these trends within the mainstream, and to show like there are more sides, and that that all of us are also complicated beings, that you can't expect to watch a YouTube clip, of 10 minutes or however long the Connie, 30 minutes, and then expect to know everything that's happening in Africa, and that's.
But the thing about being in an academic space that I didn't really fully grasp until I started teaching classes, because I was like, I'm not going to teach in a university that's elite, I'm a community organizer. But then I realized the community's in the university. Everybody's being forced back in. Everybody's being forced to retrain. Everybody's back in universities now, right? At the undergraduate, trying to get a certificate, upgrading to masters. Everybody's there. So it's actually a fantastic place to organize and to occupy. So think about what space you're in a contradictory way. We're forced to be there. We're forced to be there to work. We're forced to be there to upgrade. But think about what you can do in that space. And also, refuse to be the informer. Any of the traveling. I've done traveling. I have an easier time traveling because I'm an academic, but I don't report on what I'm doing when I travel. None of these things have ended up in academic papers because that's not why I'm doing it. But there's also plenty of things to write about if you are going to write an academic paper. There's plenty of theoretical issues that are messy. It's a mess. So there's lots of calling to accounts. It can be a full-time job if you wanted to just spend time writing about it, to call out, academics who have done all kinds of crappy things and made enormous careers out of it, and come very, very late to the party, to these sexy movements, very late to the party. They're showing up after, invisibilized labor has gone on for sometimes decades, and an analysis has been carved out. But what invariably ends up happening, when we get the rock star academics on board, or the rock stars themselves, the issues shift from politics to issues. it's soundbited out from a political analysis to how can we take up this issue, and so we end up with these liberal solutions, or simply it's just a buzz, it's just an issue you can kind of name, and at that point it's a.
But I think a lot of ministers found it quite sexy to talk about. They don't want this to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have internalized the sexiness of LCP in this country. And even the women, they don't even want to call for the scrapping of this program. It's very destructive, oppressive, exploitative, whatever you can say. But when Evelyn talked about going to even political engagement with bureaucrats and politicians, they just listen, and we talk about the experiences of our women, and I think maybe they found this sexy, because they don't want to scrap the program. So anyway, the Philippine Women's Center and the National Alliance, we continue to call for the scrapping of the LCP, and even if they're in front of us, we're never shy of saying this, that your program really, really sucks. This is this is something that we cannot accept as women, as marginalized women. So we just continue to do that. And in terms of media, I think it's important that we talk to each other so that we can develop our own resistance and strengthen that resistance, rather than leaving this to the media to really exploit what they want. I've done so many interviews, but of course they always edit. Mm-hmm. And when it comes out, it's